Hello, welcome to this edition of RentReady with Stephensons, where we look at the general application, operating procedures, and safe handling of our tools and equipment. Today, we will be spotlighting the 35-pound hammer breaker and the tool cart. Before we start our job, we're going to want to make sure that we've got the correct PPE. Always a good pair of safety glasses or goggles, a good pair of work gloves, some ear protection, either in the form of an earmuff or a good set of earplugs. We want something for dust control, either an N95 mask at minimum or a respirator, especially when dealing with concrete dust, and a good pair of CSA work boots, as well as any other site-specific PPE that may be required. The 35-pound breaker has 22 foot-pounds of braking force, can be used horizontally or vertically. It accepts all 1.1/8" air tool steel with a collar or the Bosch combination steel. The common applications are for breaking concrete, for removing tile, digging in clay, or breaking up asphalt. So let's go ahead and do our pre-use inspection and take a look at the controls on this machine. First, we've got our chuck on the end where we'll insert our bits. We've got a 360-degree D handle. We've got our on-off switch on the back of the unit, and we've got a really good shock-absorbing handle. When we're doing our inspection, we're going to check and make sure that the springs are in good condition. We're going to make sure that there's no cracks or damage to the body anywhere. We're going to make sure that the on-off switch moves freely. Then we're going to check our cord for any frays, cuts, or exposed wire. Then on our plug, we're going to check for any burning or scorching, and we want to make sure that the ground plug is intact. So let's go ahead and get our hammer ready for use. The first thing we're going to do is insert our steel. There's two different ways to install the steel in the hammer depending on the type of steel. The first one is going to be the collared steel with the cutout, and then we'll do the combination locking steel second. So to insert the collared steel, we want to make sure that we've got the chuck lock past 90 degrees a little bit. We're going to insert it with the cutout facing forward. Then we're going to pull back a little bit, insert the chisel, and then we're locked in. To release, just slightly pull back, pull the steel out, and we can install the other one. So what we want to do is move it back, just sort of past 90 degrees. We're going to take the cutout, again it's going to go in the same direction. We're going to push that into place. Then we're going to fold the chuck all the way back. And now that's locked into place. To remove, again, just pull back. Then we can adjust our D handle into a comfortable position and plug the unit in. Make sure we're using a good 12-gauge extension cord. If you're going longer than 50 feet, you may want to consider dropping to a 10-gauge extension cord. Let's take a look at the steel that's available for the 35-pound hammer. Before we install any steel into our hammer, we want to make sure it's properly lubricated using the correct grease. We have the combination lock steel available in points and chisels for breaking concrete, brick, or block. Then we have our collared steel or air tool steel, again for breaking concrete, brick, or block. We've got our ground rod driver. It'll accept up to a 1-inch ground rod or tent spike. It'll drive into hard ground, clay, or sand. We've got our clay spade for digging into trenches, our asphalt spade for cutting asphalt, and then we've got our tile smasher head, which will remove ceramic, vinyl, linoleum, and even mortar off of concrete. If your hammer did not come pre-assembled on the cart, it only takes a few minutes to actually mount it to the cart. So the first thing you're going to want to do is remove the D handle from the hammer. You can simply unscrew the knob, push the bolt out, pull up on the handle, and open the clamp. You can throw that aside or put it back in the case. Next, we're going to want to lower the cart to its lowest position. Now, once we've done that, we're going to want to elevate the front of the cart to try to get the cart as level as possible to make it easy to sit the hammer on. Today, I'm just going to use the case for the 35-pound hammer. So now that I've got it sitting on the case, I can go ahead and remove the bolts from the top of the assembly. So I'm going to loosen off the nuts off the bottom of the bolts. Then I'm going to pull the bolts straight out. I can then remove the retaining plate, and I can remove the top block retainers. You're going to notice that on the front retainer, you're going to have inserts for the springs on the hammer to go into. That's what's going to hold it into place. So we're going to lift our hammer into place on the cart. Then we're going to go ahead and put our back retaining block on, and then we're going to put our front retaining block on, and then we've got our top plate. We can then go ahead and put all 4 bolts back into place, and then put our nuts and washers on and tighten them up. Now that we've got our bolts installed and tightened down, we can go ahead and install our tile smasher head. So again, like before, we're going to put our chuck almost at 90 degrees. We're going to grab our tile smasher head and insert it into the chuck, and then pull back on our retainer, and we're ready to go. So we now have our 35-pound hammer attached to our tile cart, and we've installed the tile smasher head. One of the biggest advantages of using the tile cart is the ability to change the pitch to match whatever material you're removing. You can simply squeeze down on the trigger and adjust till you find the right setting. The advantage, this will reduce user stress on the arms and lower back, as well as vibration control. It is definitely one of the best ways to remove vinyl or ceramic tile. I want to thank you for joining us for today's episode of Rent Ready with Stephensons. You're now ready to rent the 35-pound breaker with or without the tile cart. So remember, before you start any job, please stop, think, and then act.